1 year after the school massacre in Parkland, Florida, the officer who was supposed to protect the high school students at the school now behind bars himself. Today, former sheriff's deputy Scott Peterson is facing a long list of criminal charges. Many parents who lost their children in that mass shooting expressed their anger over Peterson's lack of response and his failed duty to defend the kids. RT correspondent John Huddy is joining us live from the Miami Bureau. So, John, tell us what happened today in court.
Yeah, well, Scott Peterson, Manila, appeared before a Broward County judge who said that in order to make the $102,000 bond that he's being held on, he'll have to surrender, number one, surrender his passport, and then also put up any collateral such as real estate or show that he has other assets in order to pay for that $102,000 bond, as I just mentioned. So Peterson was back in court. And so at this point, for the time being, and this is, by the way, generally the situation with people that are held, they got to surrender their passports and then put up that bond. So for now, he will remain in jail. Peterson was arrested on Tuesday and charged with 11 counts, including felony child neglect, culpable negligence, and perjury for things he said to authorities after the shooting in regards to that terrible shooting. As we know, that Peterson was working as a Broward County Sheriff's Department school resource officer when police and prosecutors say that Nicholas Cruz opened fire on staff and students inside Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, back on February 14th. 2018, as we now know, killing 17 people. Surveillance video shows Peterson basically talking on his radio and waiting between the school's buildings outside while he heard the gunshots and screams echoing inside those buildings, failing to intervene and thus allowing Cruz to continue to not only fire on those staff and students, but also to escape before he eventually surrendered to police nearby the school and was caught nearby. Now, Peterson retired after the shooting and has been collecting a pension ever since then. Well, now he's clearly at risk of not only losing that pension, but if convicted on all the counts, spending the rest of his life in prison, Manila.
So, John, what is Peterson himself or maybe his attorneys, what are they saying about these charges, if they're saying anything? And also, what about the comments, or how are the parents and family members of these students, how are they responding to all of this?
Well, angrily. That's number one as far as the parents and the victims' family members. But going back to Peterson, his attorney, Joseph DeRuzo of Fort Lauderdale, has blamed, quote, politically motivated retribution against Peterson, while going on to say that the only person to blame for the shooting is Nicholas Cruz. Now, DeRuzo has also argued that Peterson cannot be prosecuted as a caregiver because he was a cop. He was a first responder acting as a law enforcement officer in an official capacity. Also, this, according to DeRuzo, Peterson initially thought that the shots were coming from outside the school buildings. However, here's the thing. Radio transmissions clearly show that Peterson was saying not only were the shots coming from inside one of the buildings on campus, but he knew exactly which building it was. And despite that, and also repeated calls for assistance from other sheriff's deputies, prosecutors say that he did nothing. Now, even more disturbing is that Peterson, according to the criminal affidavit, and I have a copy of it, I've been reading it throughout the day. I mean, it's really intense reading. But according to this criminal affidavit for his arrest, not only did Peterson attend numerous active shooting training courses by the police, but he was also an instructor of these courses for Broward County. So you can imagine how angry that's made and how upset that's made a lot of people. President Trump, in the wake of the shooting, called Peterson a coward, and the victim's parents and family members have been calling for his arrest and criminal indictment. One of those parents, Fred Gutenberg, the father of Jamie Gutenberg, who was killed that day, said Peterson could have absolutely saved lives if he would have tried to intervene, tweeting, quote, "I have no comment except to say rotten hell, Scott Peterson. You could have saved some of the 17. You could have saved my daughter. You did not, and then you lied about it, and you deserve the misery coming your way." That's probably one of the harshest, most angry comments thus far. And particularly now in light of the arrest and the charges. Sheriff Bob Gualtieri of the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, and also he's the chairman of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Commission, said this about Peterson's arrest and charges. Listen.
Scott Peterson is a coward, he's a failure, and he's a criminal, and he absolutely abrogated his duty and his responsibility that day, and there's no doubt in my mind that because he didn't act is that people were hurt and people were killed, and that he should have taken effective action and he could have stopped it.
So, and along with that, there's been other comments from, family members of the victims, from parents, agreeing and applauding, essentially applauding Manila, the arrest and the charges against Peterson at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been over a year now, so these wounds still fresh. I'm sure rehashing a lot of terrible feelings and emotions. So Peterson's arrest is obviously the latest in this fallout from the shooting, including what they say a 14-month investigation of the Florida Department law enforcement there. What has come out of this 14-month-long investigation?
Well, first of all, former Broward County Sheriff Scott Israel was suspended earlier this year for what was called incompetence and neglect of duty over the department's response and actions on that day a little over a year ago. As he said, Israel is appealing the decision and said he intends to even run again for sheriff next year. Manila, there have also been other suspensions and terminations within the Broward County Sheriff's Department since the shooting. Further, it spurred a state commission that issued a 458-page report detailing many of the problems and errors both before and then during the shooting, and that led to changes in guidelines on how to deal with active shooter situations and incidents like this. And finally, state lawmakers here in Florida, and we've reported on this as well recently, approved a controversial measure, remember last month, that was signed by Governor Ron DeSantis, allowing teachers to carry guns on campus with proper training and background checks. And that does indeed remain a contentious issue, not only here in Florida, but nationally for that matter as well.
Yeah, certainly just a tragic situation all the way around. RT's John Huddy, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.